Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 1 of Tight 10 on Titan.
After the shortest season we've ever had.
Shortest season we've ever done, absolutely. This is Chris Ashworth. I got
And
it
this
right.
is John Carruthers. Oh, you dick. This is John
I got
Carruthers.
it right.
You can't get it right.
I've been drinking, Chris, in my defence.
Do you know I should have went and got some beer? I was just thinking that before we started. I was like, fuck, I haven't had the opportunity to actually get to the shop yet.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't mean to drink, and then it happened.
It just called to you.
Do you know, it sounds like one of those those books from the kind of 1930s that everyone knows about but hasn't read, like The Accidental Drunkard.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of a man with one of those big kind of rosacea noses, and he's like,
yeah. And they've got what grog blossoms they called them, the big spots. Riddled with grog blossoms.
Excellent. I do actually have some grog blossoms. My skin's absolutely atrocious, but it's not alcohol related. I think alcohol doesn't help it, but alcohol stops me caring about it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Anyway, just before we went live, we were talking a wee bit about the fact that Scott and I are going through the kind of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films, and we decided to do it in kind of chronological order. So we did the three Hobbit films. So even though obviously the Lord of the Rings films go out first, and then the Hobbit films go out.
You get to watch the special effects get gradually worse, and then slightly better again.
Like if you're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Do you know, it actually kind of works for Star Wars.
Well, with Star Wars, it's like kind of meh special effects. Then it's fucking models and tin cans, and then it's really good special effects.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I like the fact that the obviously the original trilogy, the one that's in the middle, everything looks more realistic and quite grimy because everybody's been kind of fucked over by this evil empire.
Yeah.
So that actually works quite. Star Trek, on the other hand, doesn't work well at all. You get there's two prequel series. Well, there's actually now three prequel series to the original Star Trek, and it all looks so much better than the kind of 60s Kirk and the kind of.
Yeah, wait, it's 60s Kirk. That's got to be in the middle somewhere, right? Like chronologically.
Yeah, so basically, obviously there was the original series, but they made a prequel series that was set about 100 years before, I think. Obviously, any Star Trek fan that knows that it's not 100 years before is instantly going to get right in about that and say, actually, I think you'll find, because sci-fi fans are the absolute worst. So if that's wrong, no way that I'm getting away with that.
I need to ask, by the way, since we haven't quite reached the 5-minute mark, have you remembered to make this not private?
Yes, it's not private. It's live. People are watching, so don't worry. Well, we've got people.
Just double check.
Said we've got someone watching, and then suddenly the number of watchers dropped. So there we go. Obviously, like that kind of weird voyeuristic thing where they said, "Fuck, they can see me."
I've been spotted. But, pack the bags, Barbara. We've been rumbled.
Oh yeah. No, this is absolutely, it's 100% people could see it. But yeah, so there was the original series in the 60s of Star Trek, but they did a prequel series that was set 100 years before, which I think was made in the early. I should know this for definite. Early 2000s, called Star Trek Enterprise. It's called Star Trek Enterprise. And I had Scott Bakula as the captain. It was set 100 years before Star Trek. And of course, then Star Trek Discovery a few years ago, which is set probably about 10 years before the original series. And now they're doing one called Strange New Worlds, which is Captain Pike, which was the captain before Captain Kirk.
Doesn't Strange New Worlds cover every series of Star Trek, though? Are they not always going to Strange New Worlds?
That's what it's called, and they've called that. Star Trek Discovery is quite an interesting one, because I'm actually currently watching Star Trek chronologically. So I watched Enterprise And I watched the first two seasons.
That cannot be a quick endeavor. How long is that going to take you?
Quick endeavor. Quick Endeavour is the 8th Star Trek series.
Quick Endeavour does sound like a Star Trek. Well, Endeavour.
I read the last 15 seasons. I did just live in Inspector Morse and trying to Enterprise. Right, so you get Star Trek Enterprise, which lasted 4 seasons before they cancelled it because it was not great. But actually, I think it got. It's one of these
most things when they're not great.
then,
how can that? If it's not good, how can it run 4 seasons? And the Peter Serafinowicz show got cancelled after 1. That was a great show.
It's a fucking disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace, right? But American shows work thusly that if it has a poor start and then it gets a chance and then starts to get really good, and then you're just kind of invested in the characters and the show, and they kind of go, do you know what? We should have cancelled this in season 1, and they get rid of it. And that's exactly what happened to Enterprise.
So what would you have to do as an American TV show to get cancelled in season 1?
You have to.
I'm trying to think of any that did. Because I know My Name Is Earl ran like 6 seasons before they finally cancelled
My Name Is Earl only ran for 4.
Did it?
It did.
Because there was a normal one, then he was in prison or something. Did it end in prison?
Yep, it lasted 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Now, again, if anybody's watching and thinks that My Name Is Earl fans are worse than Star Trek fans, I mean, they're not going to let that lie.
That's because they're Scientologists.
But My Name Is Earl did the seasons, and then he ended up in prison, and then was there not a point where he decided that what he was doing was wrong, and he kind of went against the karma? And then last season was almost a redemption arc.
I remember I had a few seasons of that on DVD back when it was out, and back when there was such a thing as DVD special features. In the first season, they shot an alternative pilot that was really fucking good, where instead of him seeing Carson Daly on the Carson Daly show, he sees Stewie Griffin on Family Guy talking about revenge. And so he instead of like on morphine discovering the beauty of karma, ends up discovering the beauty of revenge.
That's amazing.
It's really good. It's him going back and fucking over everyone that he helped originally, and then he gets hit by a car and dies at the end of the episode.
That's amazing. I will need to look that out. I'm sure that's
really good. I don't think it was a full episode. I think it was probably like a 10-minute short or something, but it was really fucking good.
I've already forgotten why we talked about My Name Is Earl.
No, we brought this up because we were going to talk about Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, right. So Star Trek Enterprise lasted for 4 seasons. Then Discovery's an interesting one because I'm watching it in chronological order. The first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery are set before the original series. And then at the end of season 2, spoiler alert to anyone that's not seen it, even though we've just kind of finished season 4, I think. At the end of season 2, they get hurtled about 500 years into the future.
Oh.
Which is completely fucked up my chronology. So everybody thinks they're dead. So in Strange New Worlds, they think the crew of the Starship Discovery are dead, but they've been thrown kind of 500 years into the future. So I can't find out what happens until I'm going to Star Trek, the original series, all the movies.
If there's any time travel at all, try and watch Doctor Who in chronological order. Someone's bound to have done that.
I used to be a bit of an arsehole online, and people used to talk about because Doctor Who fans are worse than Star Trek fans. We're the absolute worst. I'm a massive Doctor Who fan, and we're the absolute worst. There's no polite way to say it. We're absolute pricks, and we slag off the show we watch. We're just horrid about absolutely every aspect of it. And there was a point where there was a guy who was talking about the fact that Jodie Whittaker should never have been the Doctor, right? And he more or less said the Doctor's always a man. But if there's any show that's ever been created where it was probably viable from a kind of storytelling perspective for the main character to be able to change gender, I would assume it'd be a show about a time traveling alien that can absolutely change every part of their DNA to become a new person. That's just my opinion.
It makes complete sense. In fact, I'm surprised they haven't been more women when you think about it like that.
People got annoyed that so many Scottish people have been in the role. That's the kind of evil fandom that we've kind of got. But anyway, so I mean, I understand. And by the way, I'm absolutely 100. I will state for the record, I'm 100% for if they could find a way to make James Bond a woman, if it fitted the narrative, I'd be 100% behind it. But I think that's a more difficult. Narratively. I'm just kind of,
it would be tough.
From the perspective of Doctor, they've almost got an inbuilt mythos that's endemic to the fact that they can make
in Doctor Who. Really, could he not come back as a Wookiee? Like, if he can completely alter all of his DNA, he could be anything. He could be a Hutt from Star Wars.
He could absolutely be a Hutt from Star Wars. He could. Do you know what? The next guy's black. That's how crazy they're going. It's just his political correctness gone mad.
Was there ever an Irish Doctor Who? I want a fool.
There's never been
stereotypical.
Chris, you're taking it too far.
I want Dylan Moran to play Doctor Who.
Dylan Moran as a Doctor would be amazing.
It would be really good. Just gets pushed. He just gets pushed in its artist, writes poetry.
Fucking Alex.
Fucking Craig Charles. Craig Charles would be perfect as the Doctor.
Yeah,
he's already got he's got bings of experience and spears. But I have a question for you, right? As a Doctor Who fan. So if you were,
I will get back to my original point in a minute,
which was not even Star Trek; it was Lord of the Rings. But
I'll never get back to that point. But I'll get back to the Doctor Who bit in a minute.
With your encyclopedic knowledge of Doctor Who, what chronologically is the earliest episode? How far back does it go? Like in any time travel?
There's an episode. There's an episode. It's a Fifth Doctor story where the TARDIS starts getting hurtled back in time and it's going to be destroyed by the Big Bang. So I imagine that's probably the absolute earliest.
Right. So if you started with that episode, how often would you have to switch seasons as you went through? Like, we'll watch season 5, episode 4, whatever, and then it's season 10 episodes.
Actually, do you know, and again, I don't, if there's any Doctor Who fans watching, they will probably correct us, but I think it was season 19, episode 1.
Season 19, episode 1.
The TARDIS still gets thrown back to.
So how many seasons did the first Doctor do?
The first Doctor did 3 and a bit seasons, but there's also a William Hartnell story that's like the third serial called The Edge of Destruction, where the Doctor, the TARDIS nearly gets thrown back to the Big Bang. But I think it's also, I'm sure it's, and by the way, again, I might be wrong, I have been drinking. I'm sure it's also a plot point in Castrovalva, which is Peter Davison's first story.
Oh, okay. So get all of the ones set during the Big Bang.
3 and a bit seasons. So William Hartnell did 3 seasons and then regenerated at the end of the second story in season 4 into Patrick. Sorry, we're going off on a tangent.
You have such a good. I just realised I didn't put my phone on silent before this. That was that woof you might have heard.
Woof. I didn't hear a woof. Woof. But anyway, going back to my original point, there was somebody being an absolute arsehole about, and he just said that he wasn't going to watch the show anymore because of the women Doctor, blah, blah, blah. And obviously lots of people kind of went, hate her. And he got the kind of usual treatment of misogynist and sexist and blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of, and it just became an absolute arsehole, as misogynistic and sexist people genuinely do.
Yeah,
There's never a point. Actually, I've seen the error in my ways. They always just kind of fucking double down.
Do you know what? I've actually listened to this guy. He's making a lot of good points.
Well, do you know what? That's me. Do you know what? I've seen the error of my ways. But right, so this guy said, well, actually, I'll have you know that I'm a bigger Doctor Who fan than you are on account of the fact that I have watched the show in chronological order since since its debut episode in 1963. And then, of course, I went in and said, "Oh, do you know what? I absolutely admire your, I admire your ability to, I admire your dedication to the show, and that you've managed to successfully watch a show that's central ethos is about time travel in chronological order. Well, fucking played, you."
You must have a big fucking chart in your wall. I'd love to watch Red Dwarf.
If you're going to watch Doctor Who in chronological order, I would suggest that you probably don't have a great deal of time to do much else.
yeah, that's it. That's really it. I would want to watch Red Dwarf in chronological order, which is like basically just watch all the happy episodes at the start where they go back to Earth for like however long, and then just watch it normally.
And then just watch the depressing stuff that's set 3 million years later.
Yeah. Do you know that I always admired Red Dwarf for that, because it had the potential to be horribly depressing, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
it was quite a fun show.
But was the whole point not that Holly kind of brought Rimmer back almost to piss Lister off,
to give them conflict,
more sane?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had a better relationship with Rimmer, or he had a better relationship with his Japanese plant than he did with Kachansky. Although they have changed that a lot, because it was like 200 words originally that they'd spoken to each other, and then some seasons later he had dated her for 6 months.
So they retrospectively, kind of retroactively had them do. That's right.
They were always doing that.
I get. Do you know that's we will get to the question in a minute, because we are starting Island of the Lizard King.
Island of the Lizard King.
We will get to the question in a minute, but that is. Do you know that's an annoying thing for me, because I'm a real kind of continuity buff. And it really annoys me when continuity doesn't quite line up.
Still, game must piss you off then, because they're always just changing shit in that.
Absolutely. And Red Dwarf did it. There's lots of Friends did it all the time.
What are they doing, Friends?
What's that?
I'm trying to think. I didn't. There was a time when Friends was on more than the news, and I still don't recall all of it.
Nobody knew Rachel except for Ross and Monica in the pilot, and then in future episodes they did flashback stories where like Chandler almost kind of got off with her and stuff, and blah. So there was loads of stuff. Right. So there's bits like that. But anyway, weirdly enough, one of the shows that was phenomenal for continuity, and I wasn't a big fan of it at all, was How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, well, its whole purpose was that it was all told in retrospect, wasn't it? I wasn't a big fan of that either.
But in terms of, I still, and by the way, I'm an absolute fiend for this, and I'm an absolute fiend for this sort of thing, and there's not a single plot point in How I Met Your Mother that I can actually say that doesn't make sense in terms of the narrative. And I'm actually almost annoyed to say that, because...
Yeah. Well, do you know what? There are certain checkpoints that's good for a show, and that isn't necessarily... My two favourite sitcoms are still Game and Red Dwarf, and I couldn't give a fuck about the continuity. I don't like How I Met Your Mother, but it's like... But if someone told me that How I Met Your Mother was technically perfect, it doesn't change the fact that I don't want to watch it.
No, I'm the same, but do you know, there's that weird paradox where you're more forgiving of something you like, but by the same token, you'd also be happier if it all kind of...
Yeah, if it would be better if How I Met Your Mother was full of plot holes.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm saying this as a Twin Peaks fan. I'm just going to go...
Yeah, that all makes perfect sense.
Well, I mean, no one's ever accused Twin Peaks of that, right? But I will use that point. I've got a friend online that's just been watching Twin Peaks, and we've been kind of chatting about Twin Peaks, and she's nearly finished season 2. And I said I'd give her a shout out because she's also discovered our YouTube shows. And I just want to say hello to Kirsty McLaughlin, who's watching us now. She shares a surname with Kyle McLaughlin.
Hello, Kirsty. Kirsty, since you've been watching it on YouTube,
I told her. I told her.
She might watch it on YouTube, although it'll take her a while to get up here. But Kirsty, you can tell me, since you're watching it all on YouTube, has my sound quality gotten better this episode? Because I hope it has, because I paid £130 for it to get better.
Well, I mean, I don't even know how my sound quality is. The problem with my sound quality is if the sound quality is good, then you have the unfortunate problem where you have to hear me.
Yeah.
Jen Swan in the comments has just said, "Why does this look like the before and after trip to opticians?" You and I.
There's a lot crueler jokes you could use in the before and after format. Before and after superintendents.
Well, am I the before or after? I have.
Yes. You keep pretending no one knows.
What I'm drinking right now, and I've told you about this concoction before, is and it looks like I'm drinking beer, actually.
Yeah, it does. It does indeed.
It's not beer.
Just piss. Horse piss.
It's horse piss. It's the finest horse piss ever. But what I'm drinking is, I've told you about this before, Chris. I'm drinking rum.
Oh.
Rum, and my mixer is Kravi's alcoholic ginger beer.
Yes, the classic.
Yeah, which you said it's not a mixer, it's a cocktail, I think.
Yes, that's a cocktail. That's basically grog you're drinking.
I'm drinking grog.
You're drinking like an Uruk.
So anyway, so we're watching Lord of the Rings, and I mentioned to you before. So we're watching Lord of the Rings. Scott's having a whale of a time, and it was great because as I kind of said to you before the stream, I said to you a couple of days ago, the absolute best thing about this is the fact that Scott had an argument with me because he was watching it, and he'd also listened to the audiobook, read by Andy Serkis, by the way.
Really?
Yep. So he was listening to the audiobook, and he was absolutely bewildered that I was calling a character Gollum, because he was adamant that the character Schmiegel's name was Colin.
Yeah, I fucking love that. That is so good. It changes the tone of it completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Colin.
Colin.
Yeah, whenever you pointed that out, I told that to my cousin, and to my cousin and my brother. My brother told me that my cousin thought that the artist Sail was called Sail because he looked like a sail, when in fact it is his actual first name.
Which, to be fair, is almost as bonkers as being called Seal, because you look like a seal.
Yeah, it's the kind of name that you need, that people will believe a justification. Like, if people are like, "Oh, he's called Chris because his man liked crisps," you'd be like, "No, he's called Chris because that's an actual name that people get called. Seal isn't a name."
Scott has completely redefined Lord of the Rings for me now, because every time Gollum appears on screen, I'm thinking, "There's Colin.
There's Colin. He's going to bite this wee man's finger off." That's just like Colin when he's had a few drinks on him.
I've got a few friends called Colin, and it's an absolute. It's a good name if your name's Colin, but as a kind of character, and what is probably the most iconic fantasy series of all time. Let's face it. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing. When people say fantasy, to the average non-fantasy fan, they'll think Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons, but mostly Lord of the Rings.
So I'm not slagging Colin off as an actual name. I think it's. My name's John. I'm not going to slag off as a name, but you would not call. I mean, we're talking about a show, and we're talking about a film series or a book series that's got characters like Aragorn and Legolas, and you don't suddenly just throw Colin into the mix.
It would be incredible, though. I've always that's a trope in some things where they purposely have one character who's just called like Nigel. Everyone else is everyone's called like Yanovan and fucking Feralda, and then you've just got Nigel. Nigel the potion seller.
I would love to, and you know, we're living in a world where you can actually do this. You know, when you can download like kind of books and PDF files and stuff, and kind of extract them into Word and stuff. And I would love to just get a copy of the Lord of the Rings and just go into Word and just replace Saruman with Frank.
Yeah.
Every kind of the evil Lord.
You've just hit me with a great idea. Why don't people? We should download it, Lord. That should be like a bonus episode that we do, not once a season because we go through seasons. Maybe every 10 seasons we'll do a bonus episode where we get like Lord of the Rings or whatever, and we not just names, but we get some words like Mordor, and we get like, you know, Isengard. We'll just get like loads of different terms that come up a few times, and then control F and just do the whole book, and then try and get through a couple chapters.
It's like Glasgow.
It's like Mad Libs.
Yeah, absolutely. We should. That's a completely new show.
Yeah, Butcher and Tolkien.
Kirsty McLaughlin has actually just started watching, and she missed her shout out. So I mean,
she did miss a shout out. You'll have to go back.
Jen Swan agrees that it's definitely a cocktail.
Yeah, that's a cocktail. Alcoholic ginger beer on top of rum is a cocktail. Always reminds me of that Frankie Boyle thing where he was in a pub in Scotland. There was an English guy who's like ordered a pint and he's like, "Oh, can I get a lime in it?" And the barman just goes, "We don't do cocktails."
So before we start our quest, I actually started Death Trap Dungeon in the junkyard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You told me you were going to do that, and it went well, actually.
It went okay. I don't know if you remember how the quest kind of began.
No, I do remember how it began, because you go in, you find a box, and you either take something out of the box or you leave it. Like, did you read the 7-page intro?
I didn't read the 7-page intro. I gave them the cliff notes.
Right, okay.
You're going to quest through a dungeon, blah. Nobody's ever survived it. You win lots of gold if you do. Everyone treats you like a king for a couple of days, and you fucking go. There's 4 people in before you, 1 person after you. There you go. And then we did that, and we got to the box, and there was someone in the audience, and I got them to either open the box or move on. And there was like, oh, wee bit sort of thing. And she opened the box and got the gold pieces.
Hey.
Next month we'll do our next bit.
So that's it. You got the gold pieces.
Got the gold pieces and just kind of went it off. And the prize was to win a drink, and she didn't accept a drink from me.
She didn't. Maybe she didn't feel like she'd earned it because all she got was opening a box.
So she was like, no worries at all. And I was just kind of going. And then I was wondering if I should maybe do a kind of cash prize where they could win £1 or they could double down for next month. There'll be a point where I'll owe them millions in the end. I mean, if it was you, I would be fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, do you know what? I kind of want to come along the junkyard just so I can take part. Just come along and be like, pick me, and then I'll kneel everything that I remember. And people are like, this guy's amazing. I said, I'll take my 12 free drinks, please.
John Tonner just said that's the way to get return punters if I drag them through a monthly quest.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. Death Trap Dungeon's a perfect one for it.
It was a really good gig. I enjoyed it. It was really good. It was just one of those gigs where everything went right.
Yeah, you love those ones.
Yeah. More of those, please. Anyway, sorry for anybody that's not watched before. Just this is a perfect jumping on point because we're on season 6, episode 1, and we're doing a quest called Island of the Lizard King. And basically, my compadre here, Chris Ashworth, is it compadre or compadre? It's compadre, isn't it? Anyway, my compadre here.
I think it's compadriate.
Compadriate. I'm going to guide him through a fantasy game book from the 1980s.
Yep.
Let's find out exactly when it's from. There's a map. Oh,
wow. Moonstone Hills.
Moonstone
Hills.
You
I I have a vested interest in this book because in every fantasy game I play, I always pick the lizards, which is weird because I'm going to be presumably killing them this time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Island of the Lizard King. I imagine you're going onto the island and you're going to try and kill the Lizard King. That's my thoughts on it.
Wonder if I can become a knight of the Lizard King's fiefdom.
Let's find out together.
Yeah, as if we'll ever get that far. I'm going to call it right now. We're never even going to see the Lizard King.
So this was written in 1984. So this book is nearly 38 years old.
A book older than me.
Nearly 39 years old. I forget we're 2023. So I used to read these books. For anyone that's watching, I used to read these books religiously when I was younger. And now Chris is having to go through them all in an effort. So far, we're on season 6. And how many seasons have you completed the quest, Chris?
That would be a big old goose egg 0.
0. Excellent. So I think this is a 1. I've got a good feeling about this one. So basically what it is the way these game books work, is that you get presented with choices, and depending on the choice you make, you jump to a specific page. Yeah. So anybody that can kind of see that, you get the option. If you want to turn left, go to page 24. If you want to turn right, go to page 33. Stuff like that. So that's what we're doing for anybody that's not seen before. I usually do this at the beginning of every season, then proceed to forget that we get new viewers on a kind of ongoing weekly basis. I also get people that go, fuck this noise, and stop watching. But we don't like those people, do we, Chris?
No, but they don't know that because they can't hear us.
Absolutely. John Tonner said, not completed, but you've been entertaining. Also, this game the game is played for about 10 minutes in an episode. John gave us additional information there that we hadn't got to. We usually only manage to get about 10 minutes of gameplay in. I do think that in certain weeks, John's probably been slightly generous there.
Yeah, I think our record was 5 minutes. The worst we've ever done was 5 minutes.
And we do get the occasional so we're 32 minutes and 54 seconds in right now. We do get the occasional one where we kind of get right to it. We do get a wee bit of serious gameplay.
The ones, right, I'll point this out right here. I'm gonna peel back the curtain very slightly for anyone that watches us. If we actually start on the book within 10 minutes, it means that at least one of us isn't having a good day. We're just like, we'll just go straight into the book. We'll just go straight into the book, and we won't actually have to talk about anything.
Don't talk about our feelings.
Yeah. Just drown it in fantasy.
It sounds amazing when you say it. Like this one, I will tell you now. This one's only got a 4-page. This one's only got a 4-page prologue. Because the last couple have been like 7 episodes, 7 pages long, and it's been just about mental. The last two was like a 7-page prologue, which I then had to read out. So yeah, no. John rightly said that if we didn't do this bit, we would get killed about halfway through an episode. And unfortunately, you're right. If we get right into gameplay, there's a good chance Chris will get killed halfway through an episode. And unfortunately, it'll be halfway through episode 1.
Yeah, last season, if we'd done it in an actual, if you count up the actual minutes of gameplay, I'm sure it's less than 1 episode of actual adventure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let's do it. Do you know what? We're 35 minutes in. This one, obviously, because we're starting in, we need to get your stats on to go as well. So we should probably kind of pile in. We should probably pile in and just kind of go for it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Because we do need to get your stats on to go. And I will say that I don't know if you remember last episode, your stats were fucking pitiful.
Yeah, that's why we died so quick.
You died so quickly. So we need to do rolls for skill, stamina, and luck and whatnot. And just see if there's anything else. I'll take you through it. So we need to do skill, stamina, luck. You start off with potential for potions as well, as you always do. Mm-hmm. You can take a bottle of magic potion with you. And as always, You can take a potion of skill, which restores your skill points, a potion of strength, which restores your stamina points, and a potion of fortune, which restores your luck points and adds 1 to the initial luck. You don't seem to get anything in the way of. You've got provisions for 10 meals.
Oh.
So there you go. So we need to note that down. Provisions for 10. That must be important. This one must be about eating.
Yeah, provisions for 10 meals implies we're going to have like rest breaks and stuff. This is going to be a big old island crawl.
It always tells you at the beginning of the games that you've got provisions, but it never tells you how much. So this time it's very specific in telling you that you've got provisions for 10 meals. So let's do this. Let's roll your initial stamina and luck. Do you want to do any of the rolling? Well,
I got a pile of dice here. I thought I'd bring up a spotlight for it. And by the way, in case anyone's wondering, I have covered my desk in a towel. There's a reason for this. I've been recording voice lines for an audition, and so I have to soundproof. I had to soundproof the desk because it reflects back sound, and then I had to literally. I had a duvet like over my head and around the mic, so that there was no sounds coming from anywhere else in the room.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but the room that I record this in normally, this is a bit freaky, right? The room that I record this in seems to be soundproofed, and we're not
really.
Yeah, it's really strange one. So like if you're in the living room and you kind of shout from the living room, you can't hear it in this room if the door's shut, but you can hear it in all the other rooms, and it's just this weird. I don't know if it's an acoustic thing or if this was some sort of murder dungeon.
Jesus Christ!
That was beautiful. Thank you, Chris. I'm the one that's stringing.
Oh my god, that one crept up on me. I didn't see that coming at all.
So we need to we're going to roll for skill, stamina, luck. I'm just writing down all the other stuff like what you've got. Your gold pieces. Treasures, another one. So here's what we're looking at. You've got skill, stamina, luck, backpack, gold pieces, treasure, and provisions. And I told you that you get 10 provisions to kind of start out. So there you go. You don't seem to have anything else of note. I'm assuming that you've got like a sword and shit.
Yeah, we always have a sword, and they never. That's one thing that bothers me about this slightly. They never mix up with the weapon. It's always been a sword.
Yep, you've got a sword and leather armor.
The same as always.
You get 10 provisions. What potion do you want to get, or do you want to think about that after your rolls?
Is it the same potions as always?
It's a potion of skill, restores your skill level. Potion of strength.
I think I want to wait to see what the stats are before we decide.
Go. Are you going to do the rolling then?
Yeah. So
we got hello guys, greetings from Italy.
What? No way. My boss is Italian, funnily enough.
We got an Italian viewer. He might not be Italian. He's calling from Italy. Probably from Wishaw.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I don't know. Buongiorno, I guess.
Yeah,
good
exactly. So you're so hello Bob, hello Italy from Scotland. So for your skill, you roll 1 die and you add 6 to the number, and that's your initial skill score.
Here we go. We have a 4.
A 4, so your initial skill score is 10.
Lovely.
That's much better. Much better than last time. So for stamina, you roll 2 dice and add 12 to the number.
Okay, let's get a second one. We have a 1 and a 2. Motherfucker.
That's right. So you get a stamina of 15.
That's health as well. We don't want low health.
You don't want low health. And for your luck, you roll 1 die and you add 6 to the number.
This guy never mixes up his system. That's a 4 again.
So that's 10. So you've got a skill of 10, a stamina of 15, and a luck of 10, which isn't the worst you've done, to be fair.
No, it's definitely not.
So there you go. So you've got your sword, you've got your so what potion do you want?
Well, since we got so bad on stamina, we got to go for a stamina potion if one's in the
Potion of
mix.
strength. Just write that down.
Wait, did you say strength? Is there not stamina?
The potion of strength restores your stamina.
All right. Then what? Oh, potion of skill will restore skill.
Potion of skill restores your skill. Potion of strength
always get.
restores your stamina.
See, strength and that to me, as a Dungeons and Dragons player, constitution is your health, strength is your strength. Different things.
Right. I would go with endurance.
Yeah, endurance, constitution, same thing. Toughness.
Anyway, so, do you know what? We can go 38 years back in time and tell them.
Why don't we just tell him now? He's still alive.
You know yeah, he's still. Do you know, this is the thing. This guy wrote a book 30 years ago, and they're still writing them.
Wait, if he's still using the same system, that's
I don't know. I've not read
lazy.
any of the new ones, but they did an anniversary one this year where it was originally Steve Jackson and Ian Livingston wrote the original kind of one, and they kind of came up with the kind of concept, and they both released an anniversary. It must have been a 40th anniversary one, I'm assuming.
Oh, they worked together to make one?
No, they released one each.
Huh.
So Steve Jackson released a 40th anniversary book, and I don't know if they is it like Simon and Garfunkel, maybe they don't talk anymore.
I thought maybe I would have thought maybe the new ones, if they're doing an anniversary, well, the anniversary one would be a classic, but I bet the other ones they've put out recently are like postmodern, and it's like you're aware that you're in a book while you're adventuring. You desperately claw.
So you can fall out.
You desperately claw at the pages.
That's what would happen if we wrote one of these.
Yeah, it would be. We'd end up shoving it up its own arse.
Yeah, like the pretentious bastards that we are. Right, anyway, I'm going to read the 4-page background.
Yes,
and then we'll get into the quest proper. You up for it?
I'm very much up for it.
Do you know? I don't feel particularly narrative today, so I'm going to read this in a very monosyllabic way.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to read this to myself and not out loud.
And do that kind of mouth movement. Kind of going.
I'll just sit here and give people ASMR.
Try and read my lips. Like, so again, you know, I don't think Audible are ever going to get in contact with me to see if I'll ever read any of their books out. But I do try. Right,
yeah.
And so that's like an addition tape. So
I think Audible would snap you and the 3 voices that you use right up. It was being your own voice.
To be fair, that's 2 more voices than some of the narrators can do. So
it's true.
What? That just hit me the right way.
I'd love to hear an Audible book.
Off his hook.
I'd love to hear Pride and Prejudice read by you, Mr. Darcy.
I find you tolerable.
And no, it was his answer.
It is a well-known fact that no, anyway, sorry. But we know a wee bit too much about Pride and Prejudice, don't we? That was quite telling. John Tonner says, stuff Audible. I would pay John to rock me to sleep reading me stories. There you go. What do you know what? I'm actually going to use that as a quote, John, if that's okay. I don't know what for. Imagine putting that in your CV. Just kind of going, so what makes you think that you could do this job as CEO of Enron? I don't know. And I just said, well, John Tonner says,
John Carruthers reads.
Absolutely take it. Absolutely take it as a really nice thing to say. And it would probably be a good quote in terms of comedy, but in terms of real life skills, probably not going to get away with it. Just realised that my arm's bleeding. I'm not sure why.
Oh, that looks fresh as hell. Tasty. Yep.
When it,
Do the Conan the Barbarian thing.
there we go. That's actually, do you know, you understand, it's like, when you read Train Spotting,
Hmm.
you read Train Spotting, and then, as I've told you before, there was a situation where I went into hospital and they gave me heroin
Yeah.
just because I was having chest pains, and you realise how kind of moreish it is, and you kind of go, I quite like this. And it's the same with blood. You read Dracula, and then you
Yeah.
actually have a situation where you drink blood, and you kind of go, that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, I've had worse ports.
What? Right, that's me. I'm done.
John's had some bad ports in his time, clearly.
I've had some bad ports of my time. All right. Fuck. Right. Compose yourself, John.
You have 13 and a half minutes to get through 4 pages.
Absolutely. Let's do this. Yeah, but let's get at least one choice out for our first episode.
Yeah.
Kirsty says, tastes very irony. Now I could probably, if you've seen me before, using those 3 words, I could probably get a 10-minute set out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, it does taste irony. Right, this is a tangent, and I'm sorry, but
all right.
Thursday before, I went to the dentist. And has this ever happened to you? Right, they did everything. My dental health is terrible. I know it looks okay, but that's just because I have a metal bar behind both my top and bottom row of teeth, so they can't move. But I'm awful at taking care of my teeth. And they did a clean, and they did the root canal, and it was done. It was done, and they were like, "We don't have a basin." It's like, what, you don't have a basin? You're a dentist that doesn't have a basin. So I had to go out the front of the, the dental surgery and spit 3 mouthfuls of blood onto the pavement. And all I tasted for the rest of the day was blood.
If I'd have been walking
That's how
past,
bad my dental health is.
if I'd been walking past, I'd made you spit it into my mouth. Thanks, BTW7 on Twitch says, "Aye, what's up, G?"
What's up, G?
So
how's it hanging?
So we've got our Facebook watchers who write in full sentences, and then hi Diggs BTW7. Diggs, by the way, I'm assuming, is that what BTW stands for? Diggs, by the way, 7.
Yes.
Obviously, Diggs, by the way, 1 through 6 was already taken.
Diggs, by the way, sounds like a really gentle offer for a fight. Diggs, by the way?
Diggs, by the way. Yeah,
Square goal,
I don't know.
Square goal, please.
Where are you from, Diggs? We're going to start the quest, and Diggs can tell us where he's from. Right. Anyway, so 4 pages, and I've now got 11 minutes and 10 seconds to get us through the prologue. Can he do it? Can he fucking do it? Let's go. John Turner says, like a prostitute spitting in the street. It's not usually blood that they spit out, mind you, from personal experience.
It is if I have anything to do with it.
Beautiful. So anyway, here's your background to Island of the Lizard King. Oyster Bay, which sounds like a very unassuming place, and I'm assuming will not be. So I've got 2 words in so far. 2 words in the back.
Got 2.
Oyster Bay, which I'm assuming isn't where the kind of the mainstay of the action in this quest will be. But
Lizards don't eat oysters.
Oyster Bay is a quiet fishing village. There we go. Some 60 miles down the coast from the notorious Port Blacksand, which you managed to spend 2 episodes in before you get killed in the last season.
Shot by archers.
Because it is at the end of a long peninsula, reached only by a steep and winding path. The fishermen and their wives are left to lead a simple but content life away from the monsters and sorcery of the hinterland. There you go. That's actually quite. Imagine if your whole quest was just fishing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be up for that. I like fishing.
Journeying south from Fang, you decide you could do with a few days' rest, and knowing of no more peaceful place than Oyster Bay, you urge your horse, not your hoist, your horse towards the coast. Beside an old adventuring friend of yours called Mungo lives there. So unprofessional. Besides, an old adventuring friend of yours called Mungo lives there now, and it's been years since you last saw him. Mungo. Why would you choose that name? There's nowhere in the world. There's nowhere in the world where people would say, we need to come up with a character name.
Maybe sorry, what year was this? 84? Maybe you were just listening to a lot of Mungo Jerry. In the summertime when the weather is sweet.
Again, Mungo. This is that song in the summertime. The connotations for that was in the 80s. There was an advert for oranges called Outspan.
Right.
Right, we'll get back to the question in a minute.
This is more important.
There was these. They were like kind of satsumas, and they were Outspan oranges,
Right.
Outspan oranges, and the advert was a guy juggling these Outspan oranges, and they did the tune was in the summertime, and you know they changed the lyrics, and because it was for like the kind of tangerines or whatever, the better and the lyrics were the small ones are more juicy naturally. and the problem with that is that I do that weird thing where you forget and you hear in the summertime when
and then it comes into your head, yeah.
And then
the small ones are more juicy naturally.
Naturally. So there we go.
That sounds like a great advert for, you know, the opposite of penis enlargement, whatever that is. Penis enshrinkment.
When your penis is too large, which I have heard. Obviously, I've heard from a third party because I wouldn't know myself, but I have heard can be quite intimidating.
Yeah, a beast.
A beast. Again, a beast is not a phrase that you ever want to associate sexually with anything.
It depends entirely what you're into.
You never want to be in a situation where somebody describes you and the kind of context of sex as, oh yeah, John's a bit of a, when it comes to sex, John's a bit of a beast.
A beast. Mouth slavering, eyes lit by the fires of hell.
John loves a bit of the old beasting when it comes to anyway. Right, so
beasting and feasting.
Beasting and feasting. That's what you ask a lady at the end of a date. So when she invites you up to the house for a coffee afterwards, because you know I dated exclusively in the 80s. So if you want to come up for a coffee and say, are we going up here for a beasting or a feasting?
Wait, are we getting best and fast?
And you know, and if you're lucky, she'll say both.
In Northern Ireland, people instead of beast say based. You get basted and feasted. He was basting and feasting my daughter.
We are not going to finish this prologue, are we? Absolutely. Right, so anyway, so you're going to meet your pal Mungo. So, but how did we get to oranges from that? Oh yeah, Mungo Jerry. So 2 days later, you arrive at the edge of the cliffs overlooking Oyster Bay. It's a beautiful sunny morning, and everything looks tranquil below. Nothing seems to have changed. The cluster of stone cottages nestles between the foot of the cliffs and the jetty, where a dozen fishing boats lie at anchor. You jump off your horse and you walk it down the winding path to the village. The first people you see are a group of crying women. This was written
Yeah.
38 years
It's
ago.
often the way whenever I travel, to be honest.
As you approach them, several men step out of a cottage and run towards you. One of the
Also,
four,
once again, this is just like my trip to Glasgow.
one of the four is your old friend Mungo. His weather-beaten face is full of anger. He looks surprised to see you, but wastes no time with words of welcome, which is probably just as well because we're running a bit late. He recounts the sad events that have befallen the village. Imagine if I just did 10 minutes of, how you doing, mate? Having no gold or material wealth, the people of Oyster Bay thought themselves safe from raiders attacking the village. But several weeks ago, while most of the men were out at sea, the lizard men of Fire Island landed their boats in Oyster Bay and kidnapped several young men. Mungo now believes that they're enslaved in Fire Island and working in chain gangs in the gold mines. Since the kidnapping, 2 men were left to guard the village while the rest of them went out to fish. Despite this, the lizard men attacked again this very morning, overpowering the guards and taking away more young men. Mungo tells you that he's about to set sail for Fire Island alone because other fishermen are too scared to set foot in the island. He stares at you.
Mungo might be stupid. Why he's like, I'm going by myself. I don't care if no one else is coming.
Well, let's find out who stupid Mungo is now, because clearly, and by the way, spoiler alert, I think you're probably going to go along.
Yeah.
He stares at you in silence until you smile and says that you will aid him on his quest. He slaps you in the back and shakes your hand in gratitude. For the moment, the poor fishing folk forget their grief and crowd around you, eager to thank you. Mungo then invites you to dine with him and rest a while, as a voyage to Fire Island will take several hours. Over a delicious feast of boiled lobster and salad, you discuss your plan.
Oh, boiled lobster and salad.
Boiled lobster and salad. Don't tell me they don't treat you right.
But yeah,
Mungo tells you,
sorry, just do they not have oysters?
well, it's Oyster Bay. It's
Yeah.
probably if you eat oysters in Oyster Bay, it's probably a form of cannibalism.
They're not oysters though.
Well, how do you know that?
This whole time, Mungo's just been flapping.
This book is nowhere near descriptive enough for you to have made assumptions about. I'm just telling you. Again, that's not a slight against the author. Mungo tells you that he does not think that humans live in Fire Island any longer, but his knowledge is fairly limited of what would be an oyster and all. These are just rumours that pass between fishermen and other coastal villages. However, it is known that Fire Island used to be a prison colony guarded by a tribe of paid lizard men.
It sounds like it's. I'm sorry. It sounds like it's still a prison colony. It's just that the lizards aren't prisoners anymore.
This was a rather futile attempt by Prince Olaf. They're just throwing names in now. To rid the land of undesirable characters. The good prince soon learned that it would have been simpler to put his lawful citizens in Fire Island and leave the evildoers on the mainland. There were just too many of them. He gave up his attempt and abandoned the prison colony. When the lizard men received no pay, they took their vengeance out on the prisoners, and the island became a place of terror, ruled by a lizard man prison guard who proclaimed himself king. The prisoners were forced to dig mines in the hope of finding gold for the Lizard King. They were underfed and ill-treated, and many died. They've got a lot of information considering nobody's on the island.
Yeah, and there was no survivors, yet somehow we know the whole story.
That is presumably why the Lizard King is sending out his men to find new slaves. It's known that in order to assert his authority, the Lizard King began practicing voodoo and black magic. They're just throwing everything at the wall here, aren't they? Just saying.
Names like Mungo are side by side with names like Olaf.
Mungo, Olaf, and the king of the lizards that practices voodoo. They really did they roll a dice to come up with these?
It seems like it.
Yeah. He also started genetic experiments in an attempt to breed an An invincible
Sorry,
racing
he's a
lizard.
scientist as well. Was he not a prisoner?
A scientist lizard king.
This guy's got one hell of a CV.
Yeah, by the way, you'd have picked this book up yourself if it was called Island of the Voodoo Scientist Lizard King. You fucking would.
That does sound like the title of a B movie from the 80s.
Respond to that.
Cindy thought I was talking to. Most of the experiments went wrong. That were
I see. He's not a scientist.
due to fundamental lack of scientific ability.
Anytime he had a problem, he mixed a bit of voodoo in.
Due to scientific naivety, most of these genetic voodoo experiments on invincible lizard went wrong.
Oh my god.
So we're only on page 3. Grotesque mutants were created, and some of the harmful potions found their way into the water drains with terrible consequences. The local flora and fauna were affected. Resulted that man-eating plants developed and giant beasts evolved. A few of the prisoners managed to escape the island in rafts. This is how we know. And were picked up by fishermen. But what has happened in the last few years, nobody knows. Fire Island has almost been forgotten until the recent. How could you forget that?
Jeez, what's on that island? Do you not remember the voodoo scientist lizard king, ex-prisoner, the ex-con?
Is that Oban? Oban's not even an island. I don't know why I used Oban. I don't claim to be a voodoo scientist, wizard, geographer. So Fire Island has almost been forgotten until the recent raids, because that'll always remind you, why did we not expect this?
Oh my god, we forgot about the Lizard King once again.
Success in your quest to assassinate the Lizard King and rescue the kidnapped victims is doubtful, especially for you. But you must try. You stand up and you walk down to the jetty with Mungo stepping aboard his small fishing boat. In the sight of cheering villagers, you untie the boat and push out to sea, wondering if you will ever return. I'm going to put money in the fact that Mungo will die in the next episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, Mungo's a goner for sure. Or he becomes our Samwise.
He could become your Samwise, which is again taking us back to the original kind of commentary. I'm going to show you a picture of Mungo.
Please do.
And we'll get to the point where we make a decision and then we're done. Here's Mungo. Oh.
What the fuck is that?
That's Mungo. That's your best pal, Mungo.
Oh my god.
That's your best pal.
Mungo's teeth look like a fucking arrangement of druidic artifacts.
More fool you. Imagine you basically got on a horse and travelled for days and days to have some rest and relaxation with your best pal Mungo.
First time we get into a fight, Mungo's gonna have to take his earrings out. Hold my earrings.
Kirsten just said that's how she imagined them. So there we go. Anyway. So here we go.
I'll be honest, I was just picturing Mungo Cherry. The big mutton chops.
Mungo's years with the fishermen of Oyster Bay have made him a skillful boatman. He swiftly hoists the sail of the small boat and sets a course due west across the silvery blue sea. The land soon recedes into the distance, and you sit back on the deck, relaxing in the afternoon sunshine. From the stern, you hear merry whistling, the creak of the rudder, and Mungo occasionally calling out to a seabird passing overhead. You think about
calling out to a seabird?
You think about the good times you used to have with Mungo, his constant cheerful nature and willingness to help people in need. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Mungo seems like a good lad.
Mungo seems like a good fella. You find it difficult to believe that so much evil exists in land when there lives the likes of Mungo. There you go. How can there be so much evil when there's people like Mungo? As hours drift by, you talk and laugh, try to ignore the dangers ahead. Mungo is always one to tell a tale, and he's now telling you about his father and how he used to work in a travelling circus. And we're going to get to a voice bit. So what of my three voices will it be?
Well, one of those voices is your own natural voice, so we'll discount that one.
It's only this voice, and then another two.
Yeah, that's it. That's your full repertoire.
Goes it. He was a big man, big as a mountain, laughs Mungo. And he would do just about anything for a paying crowd. Wrestle trolls, have elephants, stand on him, and even let a killer bee sting him. He was a tough old customer, but he finally met his match in the north. The circus was in Fang as one of the attractions during the festivities surrounding the Trial of Champions. Mind Death Trap Dungeon.
Death Trap
And
Dungeon.
my father decided on a whim to enter. He walked into the Death Trap Dungeon, and alas, he was never seen again. I never imagined Mungo to be the type of person to say alas.
Yeah, he doesn't look like an alasser.
There's a lot of alasser. He was really too old for such an ordeal. Although there was no telling him that, but at least he tried.
Wait, I'm trying to recall who the other characters in Death Trap Dungeon were. There was an assassin, a lady, two barbarians. Was there an old guy? He might have been one of the barbarians.
I'll double back and check. Just as Mungo's about to tell you the next tale, he jumps out and shouts, "Land ahoy!" I hope he dies soon because I don't know how long I can do that voice for.
You chose it.
I know, at the top of his voice, as though he were yelling the news to the crew of a galleon. You look to where he's pointing and see Fire Island in the distance. The island sits in the sea like a green cushion with a jagged mountain protruding from it. Smoke gently curls up from its top, a volcano's fuming anger, waiting to explode.
I'm just picturing Tracy Island.
Well, I would jolly well hope so. Mungo steers the boat towards a small inlet at the eastern tip of the island, hoping that it will remain concealed between the high rocks. You both put on your backpacks and clamber out in the boat to begin your quest to find the Lizard King. Do you wish to scramble round the rocks to the beach and the cove to your left, or clamber over the rocks on the other side to the beach to the cove on your right? What kind of sexy cliffhanger is that for the first episode? Do you want to go left or right?
As always, it's a classic. It's a classic left, right, east, west situation.
Exactly, it's left, right, east, west, or do you want to go to the star system, port or starboard? Right, so anyway, that's where you're at. So you just got off the boat. You're actually, do you know, you're already a step ahead where you were in City of Thieves. You actually made it to the fucking island in the first episode.
That's true.
So there you go. So something to ponder over in the next week is whether you're going to clamber over the rocks to the left cove or clamber over the rocks to the right cove. Quite exciting.
Do you know, I really wish there was, like, you know, in Who Wants a Millionaire, you get a phone a friend. I really wish there was an Ask Mungo. Like, every decision we get to in the book, it's like, what does Mungo think about this?
We could make one of the people watching a Mungo by proxy.
Yeah, that would be good. Actually, we'll have a voluntary Mungo each week.
Voluntary Mungo. So we can maybe do that next week. We can start off, get some people in, and get a voluntary Mungo who can maybe help you. Because as always, if the audience have got a specific idea about how they might want to aid you, they can actually give you options. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just listen.
Yeah, that's true. But this is a team sport, so please feel free.
So basically, everybody's got a week to mull over this. You got a week to mull over whether Chris hasn't even come up with a character name yet for Island of the Lizard King.
Well, because of what we were saying and because of how ridiculous everyone's names in this is, I think my character this time is going to be called Nigel Havers. I
like it. Okay, so we'll find out next week what Nigel Havers, what his choice is going to be.
Yeah,
I saw Nigel Havers in something recently.
was he? Hold on. I'm trying to get. Here we go. Fuck, this is tough with this microphone here. Oh, it's also tough that I don't have one.
You can have it in for next week. Nobody's going to forget.
No one's going to forget Nigel Havers.
Nobody's going to forget Nigel Havers.
There we go. We got it in.
So that's where we're at. So you're on the island. The quest has begun.
Yeah, quests abound. The game is afoot.
The game is watching.
Siri's fucking ganting to get into it this week.
Absolutely, just so heavily involved. Yeah, it's just. I think I've told you before, right? The Apple Watch before this, you could yell at it, and Siri wouldn't come up. And this one's just a wee bit overly sensitive.
Just
fucking hate it. Right. Anyway, right. So that's where we're at. Next week, we'll find out what Nigel Havers is going to do with his best pal Mungo. And if the
Nigel
BBC
Havers.
don't that sitcom, I don't know what they will.
Yep, I'd watch that.
Nigel Havers and Mungo on Lizard Island. There you go. Anyway, guys, that's the first episode of season 6, episode 1 of Tight 10 and Titan. That's been Chris Ashworth.
And this has been John Carruthers.
Good night.
Sayonara.